Doesn't matter what time I wake up, these dang dogs want to go outside. They mainly want to go outside so they can get their treats. That is Milo and Molly, the pug. So you can see the moon behind me. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to go get a workout. Slept 10 to 1, 3 hours, but then I wake up at 1, wide awake. Not really sure what's going on. So I think I'll just go do some kilometers out on Elm Street. It's fairly well lit, pretty quiet neighborhood. So I think that's the plan. Maybe not the best idea. I'm on Elm Street. It's nighttime. This is a pretty quiet street, one street from my house. Got like a kilometer loop out here, or can extend it out a little longer. The good thing is this street's one way, so you can walk and not have to worry about cars coming up on you, and same thing on the other side. So I often come out here, it's lit, it's quiet, put in some miles. I was at almost 58 miles in 4 days. So I'm right on pace to get my second 100-mile week of the year. You can tell my voice, pretty weary, of course, out here walking at this time of hour. Great training for multi-day racing. Yeah, I'm just moving, especially at this witching hour where you feel kind of tired. And of course now I feel tired after I left the house. So I think I'll do this for an hour, go home, take a shower, sleep for an hour or two, then get up at 6 or 7. Got to do some shopping, put in some miles. Today's gonna be tough getting in that 23K, 14 miles, because I got a 5K race tomorrow, and I'm not gonna do anything spectacular. I'm just walking it, but I don't want to walk it where I'm completely trashed. So today may be a 10-mile day. Don't really like doing 20-mile days, so might not get to 100 this week, but we shall see. So that's the plan right now. I'm going to be walking by this house, and this dog's barked at me for years and years. So I'm going to try and be a little quieter. Well, no Freddy Krueger out here on Elm Street, but definitely everybody's ring cam is showing a zombie walking down their street. And I didn't think I was going to be moving along so slow and woozy, but definitely just went out about 20 minutes, and I think I'm going to be only doing about 40 minutes. I'm going to go back home, go to sleep, because, man, I'm out of it. All the old tricks ain't working. Was listening to podcasts, which was putting me to sleep. So I popped up the Paul Oakenfold, some electronic dance music, and it's not putting any pep in my step either. So, oh well. Some podcast news. Some reason, a while back, I moved my website, my podcast, to Podbean. They suck. I thought it'd be good, but I didn't like the functionality. Sure, Anchor has its issues in terms of intellectual property in the future, but I was getting some money off of there, and I like how you just can grab a YouTube video, we'll make it audio, where not all those sites do that, and you have to jump through all hoops, and you gotta, list individually all the, get way inside the baseball here, but bottom line is I was on Podbean for a hot second. I'm getting back to Anchor, but when I did that, it screwed up my podcast feed, so I'm not available on some things, like big ones like Apple, which is deep one, so that kind of sucked. So wrote them, they don't give me no answers. All the answers they gave me didn't work, and so I just created a new account. All the old podcasts will be on one place, I guess, and the new stuff I'm doing will be new. Got a great name that my buddy Tracy B came up with, I'm going to use for a while, called Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Not Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Kilometers. I gave it away. So threw that down. It was fun yesterday, speaking of stuff. Jester, of course, did a April Fool's podcast video on Instagram, and I did a what that ghost thing's going on there. I did a some of the parodies, like Western States having a 200 mile and a Solomon dog shoe. So that was very entertaining. Yesterday, when I'm home and I'm not watching YouTube shows or something, I listen to podcasts, and I love Joe Rogan. Don't like the Spotify app, though I like being on Spotify. So I'm listening to David Choe, great painter, artist, and I'm like at the end of July right now, so I'm way behind because you can't listen to Joe Rogan anymore on anywhere but Spotify. So I been listening to David Choe, and he's a fascinating, crazy character, Korean American, and talking about growing up Korean in America, parental, parents on you to be a doctor or lawyer, the rest of the world treating you strangely. And it was pretty sad that he really got choked up when he talked about how him and his dad, his dad was so excited when Parasite won an Oscar, and hey, we finally made it. And then it was funny how he said, like, all of his white friends are texting him congratulations. He's like, I don't have anything to do with the movie. But then he said, a week or two later, him and his dad are driving around town, and they pull up a red light, and they see a guy with his kid out walking about or something. And the guy just looks at him and, pulls his eyes back, face kind of thing. And David, was very emotional on Joe's show. I mean, there was this huge pause. And that's such fucked up shit. And, he's had more of that, kind of sadly going hand in hand with the tragic shootings that we're having now, months after David brought up that topic, because he saw, it's always been there. And then the whole COVID and having the jackass called the Chinese virus hasn't helped matters. So very compelling, and it just goes all over the place, highs and lows, and highly recommend listening to that podcast and the Joe Rogan Experience. Just thinking of how David was on that podcast got me upset, but made me move a little quicker. He went to UC San Diego, and great school, but my first freshman year was kind of rough. My first quarter there, I was with some upperclassmen that were computer guys. They were never around because back in the day, you didn't have a computer in your room, so they were always in the computer lab. Nice Spanish guy, and I can't remember where the other guy was from now. And then my roommate was, the only thing we had in common was Joy Division. I liked him, but he lived them in Joy Division's courses. One of the best bands around, but pretty scary stuff. And thankfully I got out of there, and I had a decent freshman year. But unfortunately, my sophomore year, I was guys skateboarding and doing stuff with, and I was running cross country and track my freshman, sophomore year. But I thought, I'll live with these guys. They're cool. They're surfers, skaters. Well, when I lived with them my sophomore year, they were just huge asshole partiers, made my life hell, tortured everyone. And, I remember one of the guys had a pot habit. He ended up getting a job at McDonald's, and he used to bring home all the food from McDonald's. So our kitchen had like 2 foot of McDonald's wrappers on the floor because everybody hung out there. Anyways, long story, my sophomore year was just horrible. So going into my junior year, I again got lucky on the lottery because I didn't really have money, that I was able to get on-campus housing, and it was apartments at Third College. And I just lucked into getting this great guy, Tom Kim, Korean American, who had come over when he was a kid. But, the typical Korean story, he was a pole vaulter in high school, really good, fast, smart, witty guy. Still see him on Facebook, successful businessman now, but very traditional parents. I remember they bring him food like every week, just amazing Korean food. And I'm a big pussy, so hot shit kills me, but man, I'd still steal some of that kimchi beef. I used to call him the condiment kid because he could never eat anything plain. He always had to put sauces on it. But anyways, I learned a lot from him, and he was a great soccer player too. But, I learned from him because I'd hear about it was a typical story. His parents, owned a liquor store, and just how, you go in, find a beat up, bad location, put every dime you have, work it, have employees, no employees, and just grind until you're successful, and then open up more, and also how they would pool the money and give it to one another and all that. So when I opened up my store, Andy Noise Records, I did the same thing. Just found a location, put every dime I had in, but didn't have employees and just worked it. And it ended up lasting me almost 20 years. So I always say I went to Korean business school because in college I studied animal physiology. Wish I didn't use it all for like 20 years. But, education is just about thinking. There's Hudson's house, this beautiful golden lab, but obviously he's in the house. So good memories of Tom Kim, and ended up having a couple freshmen from the Northern Cal. Their parents were Stanford professors. And one of the things I was talking to the Jester about, he's looking to have someone help him with his trying to take back his most hundreds in a year record. He wants to do 60 hundreds when he's 60. And I said, you don't realize, like, I'm in Bakersfield. I thought, I'm sort of middle class. I lived in apartments my entire life until my senior high school, but I didn't think it was too bad. I went to UC San Diego, and all of a sudden I found out, wow, I'm poor. And, you're just meeting people like, kids and their dads were high-powered execs. I dated a girl who, her dad was the producer of Roots. And so I keep telling Ed, there's people out there, and they come to reach out to you. So hopefully people will do that. So that was kind of my whole idea. But he had the Stanford kids were a crack up. A lot of Northern California kids like to go Southern California. And that was good times. And I always think of Tom. He came and visited me here a few times in Bakersfield. And hopefully we'll get back together someday. Oh, the alley I've walked through thousands of times. It goes from Elm back to my street beach. Man, I'm only going to do about 2 miles because this isn't pretty. But it's almost 4 o'clock. Probably take a quick shower, lay down, and hopefully pass out for an hour or two. And then hit the grocery store because you got to get there before. It's just not that far from my house, but it's the night of the living zombies over there sometimes, even during the day. So don't want to mess with that. And of course, I've got a 5K tomorrow, and I don't want to be completely trashed for that. My white picket fence on my neighbor. People often ask me, especially multi-day races, when do you take breaks? When do you sleep? Because in a 24-hour race, you don't need to take a break. You just keep going the whole time. That's why they're so damn hard. And even the fast elite guys find that out. The fast 100-mile guys, they jump into a 24 and go, shit, I got to 100 in, 13, 14 hours. Now I got another 10 hours out here. American flag. They don't have a light on their American flag either. So I always say, in a multi-day race, if you're out there making 3 miles an hour or better, just keep walking. And then when you get, like I am right now, kind of wobbling and below 3 miles an hour, that's when it's time to take a break. But as long as you're moving at a decent clip, whatever that may be for you, you should just keep moving, because heck, you're in a 48-hour race, a 6-day race. It ain't a 100 race or a 200-mile race. It's the time on the clock. So just got to keep going. There's my casa. Boy, I'm glad it ended up being a little over 3K. And now hopefully it'll lull me to sleep. Well, my Fitbit says I didn't sleep, but at least I got a little rest. Just went grocery shopping. Now I'm out doing a 6K. Just an easy one since I got a 5K race tomorrow. Going under Highway 99. That's why you hear the kind of crazy sounds. And heading over to Yoga's Park, which is where I had the Bakersfield Distance Project for almost a decade, running and training there. I had an interesting clubhouse. This morning, the trail runner guys were asking about most memorable finishes, and some really good stuff there. I recommend getting in on there and checking it out. And this is Yoga's Park, and of course, they watered the dirt path that I'm heading towards. My most memorable trail experience finish wasn't my own. I mean, my first 50 miler was on a trail at Leona Divide, but it wasn't really more memorable except for being a finish. Mine was when my good friend Carla Kent, who I crewed and paced at Badwater, and me and her are like kind of multi-day people, more, not known as trail runners. She asked me to crew and pace her at Tahoe 200. And it's a beautiful race. Candace puts on an amazing race. In fact, Candace has just started off today to do a solo unsupported FKT of the Arizona Trail. And good luck to her. And so she came up with this whole idea, 200s loop races often, Moab 240 and the Tahoe 200. Amazing race. Highly recommend doing it. Beautiful scenery. What's really nice too is you're in Tahoe, so your friends and family and crew can come and go, and they know where you are, and they can get to the aid stations. Then they can go back to the city, actually an Airbnb or have a restaurant meal. Candace uses the tracking system, GPS, so we always know where the runners are, which is super awesome. So I would, the first 60 miles, you can't see Carla, you can't have any crew. And then after mile 60, I saw her, and I ended up doing 80 miles of the course with her. Had an opportunity to actually get a whole 100, but on the final day, I thought, you know what, I need to rest. So I'm semi-fresh for that final night. And so that final night, we were heading out. I remember we had beautiful weather. That final night, it drizzled a little bit, and but it was good. I remember at the time I was doing a full vegan thing for like over a year, but we came to one aid station that had amazing food, and I knew I needed the energy to get Carla through, and so I had a bacon cheeseburger, and I'm really glad I had it. Thankfully I have an iron gut, so it didn't affect me at all, but it definitely gave me the energy to take care of her over the night. And so we headed out of there. There was this monster climb, almost the entire, on a fire road, but it was the steepest thing. I don't know what vehicles made it up that, Jeeps obviously. And then thankfully we caught a few people, we caught a Kiwi, and so we had a little pack, because the whole race we'd been by ourselves. So we're climbing. We had the top of the last mountain overlooking the ski resort is where the race started. And you can see this gigantic downhill. Neither of us are much downhill runners. And it started snowing, just flurries. So it's pretty amazing. And we're making our way down the hill. And Carla, is just amazingly tough. We get to 1 mile to go, and there's a bunch of booze sitting there. In theory, you're going to take a shot. And I looked at my watch, and you had 100 hours to finish. And Carla, that's all she wanted to do is finish. So I said to Carla, and something you don't get to say to many people in your life, I said, Carla, if we push this last mile, you can break 4 days. And 4 days is 96 hours. So she just took off. Thankfully, I was able to keep over there, get a finishing video, and she finished in under 96 hours. Amazing performance considering she's not known as a trail runner. She has some difficulty, night vision. She's finished Badwater. I was there with her 7th finish, so I think she's got 8 Badwater finishes, the most of any woman. Great Czechoslovakian runner, has run for the national team, and she's a Bellagio dealer as well. So she does a lot of practicing, staying up all night, dealing roulette, I believe. So that was my most memorable trail finish. What was yours? Leave it in the comments or get a hold of me and tell me what your most memorable trail finish was. This here is the 24th Street underpass. No one's living under here, which is nice. And I walk by this often. I live off of 24th Street. Off of my videos start on there. Here, there's feral cats here, and Esther, probably an 80-year-old woman that lives by me. She's been feeding these cats forever, so there's their water and food. So yesterday I was here walking in the afternoon, moving along pretty good, and I always thank the city employees for keeping the trail clean. They've been fixing the lights at Beach Park. They've been putting in barriers so people can't drive onto our bike path. And yesterday there was a group of people out here picking up trash and stuff, and so when I walked by the first time out and back, when I came back by, I thought, I'll just thank them for their service, thank them for working. So as I'm walking along, and it's obvious I'm in a workout, I'm not really out here to socialize. I know I've had people kind of get upset with me, like they want to stop and talk, but I'm like, I'm working out. So I just say to the young guy, hey, thanks for, cleaning up the place. And instead of him just being nice and going, oh yeah, he's like, oh, you should help us. And it was just like, with this real dickish attitude. And I'm like, I'm in a workout, heading along. So I'm talking to him. And as I walk by the cat dishes, and I said, and dear sweet old lady puts this out, so please leave them there. And he's all, it looks trashy and they're too close to bypass. And I was like, okay, whatever. Dude had just way too much attitude. So it is what it is, I guess. I shouldn't talk to people, I guess. If you see that little triangle-y building out there in the distance, that is the Bakersfield Heart Hotel Hospital. And that's where my my heart cardiologist resides. Great guy, got me on these meds. And actually over there too, behind that building, unfortunately now you can't see, is the Buck Owens Crystal Palace. It is less than a mile from my house. And it's a pretty nice place, so if you're in Bakersfield, come by and check it out. So, off to find the weasel. And I'm back on Elm. I was here at 2 or 3 in the morning. Going a lot faster right now. Finished up the 6K, and there's the weasel, aka my wife, doing her routine, doing her 4K or so. And I am done for the day. Just walk home, cool down. So a good workout for the Mission 5K tomorrow. Have real nice shirts. In fact, they mailed us the shirts automatically, which was really nice. I gave it to Blanca. What are you racing this weekend? Put it in the comments or send me a direct message through Instagram. And you guys all have a great Good Friday. And I hope to talk to you guys later this evening or tomorrow. And please hit subscribe.